that.
Yeah.
See, I got my Triple G shirt on.
I see it. Flaunting it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fucking Ella, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Oh, I got a funny story right off the bat.
All right.
Kind of seen it. I showed it to you, but I sent it in the text. But okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you know where I'm going. He liked another one. Okay. What's up and welcome to the pamphlet on Kelly Digital. I am Nick. Adam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Pretty good. I'd say I can't complain, but it's about 1,000 degrees down here and I work construction. So I have a lot to complain about. I just don't think anybody wants to hear about it. That's the difference.
Yeah.
What about you?
Not too much. Just living life. Not really doing a whole lot other than working.
Yeah.
So,
working and jerking.
Working and jerking like usual.
So, this past Tuesday, we did a pretty good master debate with the most famous deaths. And if you haven't listened to it, I recommend going and checking it out. If you're hearing this right now, you could go onto iTunes and download Kelly Digital. You'll get this show and master debate. And we did most famous deaths in the last 100 years. I was the victor, which
Yes, you were.
My victory lap. Do you realize that?
Yeah, I guess maybe you didn't deserve it. No, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say spoiler alert if you haven't heard it, but
that's true. Yeah, spoiler alert. We're a little behind the times, but one of the guys I used was Billy Mays.
Somehow won with it too.
No, I didn't win.
No, you didn't. You didn't win with Billy Mays.
But if you ever remember who Billy Mays was, he was the pitch man that was selling OxyClean. That was his main thing that he's famous for. So while promoting the show on Twitter, I hashtagged all the guys that we talked about, and Billy Mays was one of them. I kind of threw him in as like a joke because of like people are reading all these famous people's deaths and they see Billy Mays and just like, what the hell?
And you put him up against JFK.
I did. So. And Billy Mays' son liked the tweet.
That's awesome.
I felt really bad about it. Like I didn't say anything that offensive about Billy Mays except for talking about his death.
Yeah.
And then so I wanted to boost the numbers, so I, reposted that tweet or something similar to it.
Oh no.
And he liked it again.
He probably didn't listen. It really wasn't that bad. We didn't say anything too bad about him. But obviously in a debate, and it's in we're trying to be funny as well. So exactly. I mean, when you're talking about death, I guess you could offend some people when you're making light of someone's passing. So
right.
Because there were drugs involved, and I think I may have said he was snorting OxyClean. That's what killed him, which is totally ignorant.
Yeah, so hey, if Billy Mays III happened to subscribe to this podcast after listening to the show, we meant no harm.
No. Keeping his memory alive.
Absolutely. All right, let's hit the wire. Okay, let's just skip all that. I'll tell you what happens.
It never works, I can tell you already.
It never works. But I click the button, and then we'll say something. So I'll like hold my finger on the button, and it just makes the whole program just shit itself.
Oh no, we need to practice off air.
So whether you agree with the summit or disagree with the summit or press conference, it was a bad week for Trump overall. And I kind of see where everyone's coming from. He went to NATO, he slapped him around, and then he goes and does a press conference with Putin, and he kind of looked like he jerked him off. At least from
Well, okay, this is
insane.
Okay, I think what Trump's approach was, he went into NATO trying to kind of lay the law down with them, just because, like we talked about last week, they haven't been basically not paying their bills for a long time. So he goes into the Putin one, respecting him, showing him respect, I thought. And I watched the press conference. I watched the whole entire thing, every second of it. So I know there was this huge outpouring against him after, some of the things he said. But, in his main statements, it was just kind of, both of them were just kind of just saying, oh, we're just talking about all these different topics. It wasn't just about collusion or whatever the Democrats want to be election. But I think it came across as he was stroking Putin a bit, and Putin was doing the same to him. And I think when you're looking at the situation where the two countries, I mean, the amount of contact that the leaders have had in a presidency has to be some of the longest stretches of not really communicating with one another. I mean, since forever. It may have been because even Kennedy had contact with them during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So I really think that, and Putin even said it, he said the Mueller basically investigation that's going on has kept them from really communicating one another. And he said it's, they both said it's the worst the relationship's been since basically the Cuban Missile Crisis, which is not good for us considering we're the nuclear power, their nuclear power. But yeah, I mean, it didn't play well in the media at all for Trump. I mean, no. But he got a soccer ball, Nick.
He did get a soccer ball. And, I think a lot of the issue is the fact that the media keeps beating him up about this Russia investigation where there's been no evidence of collusion.
Yeah.
But they keep, jamming it down everyone's throats every day. And I think he was really eager to get like some of that cleared away. And in doing so,
yeah,
he kind of stepped in it.
That's exactly what I mean. When I read it, it just seemed like Trump is so salty at this point about, I wouldn't say just the Mueller investigation, because I think from what it sounds like, the Mueller investigation is, they haven't found any evidence with Trump, but they're looking at, what could happen with our elections. How was this server hacked, or how did this happen? So maybe it didn't have anything to do with Trump, but maybe it did have something with Russia. So, and Trump's sitting there and he isn't probably really privy to that information because he's part of that. So he's getting frustrated because he doesn't really know what's going on. And everyone's saying he's colluded. He's kind of like Alex Jones whenever Peter Schiff called him a Russian agent. Yeah. And, he goes absolutely berserk about it. And I think to this point, you can just see he's so salty about it. And in the press conference, that was pretty obvious. And he also really hates the idea that he's not getting credit for winning cleanly against Hillary Clinton. I think that irks him really bad, that the Democrats or even just the people in the media aren't giving him, they're saying, oh, there had to have been something. There's no way she could have lost kind of thing. So he's got to be colluding, or he's got to be doing this, or something helped him, where he wants it just to be, I won, I'm a winner. And you can see it on his face and in his tone. He's so annoyed that they just won't give him the credit for winning. And I think that came across really bad.
Yeah, and that is, I think, the biggest part that came across bad. And the worst thing is, if he could just swallow it and just, let it roll off his back,
yeah,
they wouldn't be able to deny the win, in 2.5 years, because everything that he's, everything he did there and every time he focuses on the complaints against him, once he starts trying to swat back at those, that's when he starts getting himself in trouble.
He's
people
fanning.
that actually are starting to support him.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to put out a fire, but he's fanning the flames with a towel with gasoline all over it.
Right.
So it's like, I can see what he wants. He wants this to be not what we're talking about. The guy has made huge strides with North Korea. We have gone in such a bad place with Russia, but when you think about it, if you can make huge strides with North Korea, if you could work out a tariff deal with China, and then you mend relationships with Russia, I mean, you pretty much have what everyone as a kid always said, I wish that there would be world peace type of thing. I mean, really, there's no real threat of a massive world war type thing, which seems like throughout our time, there's always something that we're afraid of. Look at what China's doing. Look at this. Look at that. So, I mean, he's not helping, his case because he's doing good things. But then he gets so irritated and he's on Twitter constantly. And I said it whenever he was running. I mean, I wish he would just stay off Twitter.
Right.
But the media will not allow that because they know how to dial him right up. They say something and then he has to respond, and which makes it worse. So, yeah, I mean, personally, I watched the press conference. He seemed pretty salty about that. And that didn't look good for him because I see what he's doing. He's trying to say, look, I talked to Putin and he said I didn't have any collusion with him, which I already know. So why does everyone else still keep saying that? It's driving me nuts. But it came across as bad. And at least, it came across as him being spiteful. He's pissed off. And yeah, I mean, Putin said, but if they were colluding, if they legitimately were colluding, which there isn't any evidence of, but if they were, Putin said collusion between us would be utter nonsense. And, there's no evidence of this. I don't know why they keep saying that Russia's involved in colluding with Trump. But at the same time, if they did collude, which I couldn't say they were, there's still zero evidence of it. Neither of them would admit to it. That's exactly what they say. Yeah. So, but there was a couple of things that came out of this. They met for 2 hours, and they talked about a lot of different things, and the only people in the room were their two interpreters.
Yeah.
And the Democrats, I don't know if you saw this, but they want to have the interpreter for Trump come before Congress to basically tell them what was talked about. And I mean, I can see Putin's very irritated with that. He's like, why? I mean, what kind of diplomacy can we have if that's, what kind of conversations or what can we get done if that's legitimately how it's going to operate there?
Right.
And I mean, should he have met with him alone? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what could they have been doing? That's so crazy. But I mean, the Democrats act like that was their first thing before even the press conference, that he met with him alone.
They were probably making the interpreters play Twister or something. Well,
yeah. Yeah. But did you see, I mean, basically Mueller, he indicted 12 Russians on spying charges. Now, these Russians are in Russia, and they can't arrest them if they're sitting in Russia. But he did it right the day before Trump met with him. So, I mean, the timing of it is very suspicious to me.
Oh, it's all well, that's the time to grab the headlines, and that's a good time for Mueller to get his name out there and, remind everybody that he's still there.
Well, and Putin said, yeah, sure, we have a treaty with them, that they will work together as countries. If there is someone who's getting indicted in one country or another, they are in the other country, they will work out a deal. He said, I'm more than willing to work out a deal where Mueller's team comes over, is part of the interrogation with our guys of these 12 people. But he said he wants to talk to this Bill Browder.
Yeah.
You're familiar with him?
Yeah.
And he basically said, that's my condition. Like, I want my guys over in the U.S. talking to Bill Browder and his associates about their illegal activity in Russia.
No, they want him to go to Moscow. They want Bill Browder to go to Moscow and talk.
Well, when he first said it, well, at least maybe the way I heard it, because you're going through an interpreter, but I thought he said basically like he wants to send his guys over. But whatever. Let's just say that. Now, this Bill Browder, I don't even know who he is. I mean, I'm clueless, but I did look a little bit, and Putin said in the thing, it can't be right that Bill Browder and his associates donated like $400 million to Hillary Clinton's campaign. I mean, is that possible?
I don't know about, because I mean,
he said it right in the press.
How I know of Bill Browder is he's on the Glenn Beck show every once in a while.
Okay.
So I don't see him being friends with Glenn Beck and donating $400 million to Hillary Clinton. That doesn't seem to add up right there.
If he was, I guess the way I looked at it is if he was pretty confident that Hillary Clinton was going to win, and he wanted to kind of be on her good side as far as not getting extradited to Russia.
That's a good point.
It almost is, I don't want to say it's payoff, but they probably did the donation legally, but, you know, because Putin wants them over in Russia because apparently they made a lot of money there, according to him, and they didn't pay the proper taxes. They made the money illegally. Then they took all the money offshore, and they've kind of escaped from the country. This is what he said because I don't know anything about this guy. I just know that this is what he said in the press conference. So if the guy is afraid that there's a chance that he might get sent back to Russia to face these charges, which is probably really bad for him if he's on Putin's bad side. I'm not saying, because I'm not sticking up for Putin. Putin's done some horrendous things, you know.
Yeah.
But he may have donated large sum of money to who he thought was going to be president just to avoid that situation ever happening. But I would have to look into it more. But still, it's interesting that both of these guys dropped some kind of wild things in that press conference from that standpoint. Like him saying that was like the most shocking thing as far as, you know, whether it's true or not. That's like the most shocking claim. Like a guy who's wanted by the Russians donated that amount of money to Hillary Clinton. So
that is crazy. That's I don't know. It'll be interesting because I know Trump said he seemed like he was kind of interested in it, in the theory or the idea of actually letting this happen.
Yeah. Well, okay. Trump wants this to be over. He wants to have his name cleared. And I think he thinks doing all this stuff would help. But, okay, you're going to talk to these Russian guys. And, I mean, you can't get any resolution out of it. Because even if they did it, they're not going to admit to it. And Putin isn't going to extradite them to the United States. If they are who they claim they are, if they're part of some department of Russia's intelligence service hacking into the United States, you know, the RNC or the DNC servers. So there was, I mean, back when, I mean, this was before all this stuff happened, but when the election or the campaigns were going on, the FBI went to the RNC and the DNC. This was before any of this happened. To help them upgrade their security for their internet, basically their servers and stuff. And the RNC did it. The DNC did not. And then the DNC got hacked. And then the FBI went in to investigate how it got hacked. And that's another thing Trump brought up. He's like, you know, how come the DNC wouldn't give over the servers? What happened to the servers? What happened to all this stuff? So the only people who really know what was on there, you know, or how it happened are the people who have the servers and the people who actually did it. So I don't know. But there is one thing that's kind of a caveat to this. Lisa Page, we talked about her last week. She's Peter Strzok's mistress. He was the one who got grilled in a congressional hearing. Well, she testified at a congressional hearing this week for 2 days, but it was closed doors. It wasn't like Strzok's was public.
Yeah.
And in her testimony, according to this news story, and I saw it all over the place, she said, I mean, apparently she threw like James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, and a bunch of other people under the bus, as far as their involvement in these investigations. And she's just basically ratting everyone out, apparently. But it was in closed session, so you don't really know if any of this is true. I don't know.
Right.
But this guy came out, and apparently one of her quotes was, "The Russians didn't do it. The Chinese did." And that was in reference to the DNC servers being hacked. So, like, if that really actually happened, and that's actually who hacked it, that would really throw some shade on everyone involved in these investigations. Now,
yeah. Plus, that's a whole new can of worms as far as foreign relations.
Well, they said none of the Democrats are going to step up and say, or no one wants to step up and say Russia is doing this because we do so much business with Russia. You know what I mean? But personally, Russia, China, I mean, anybody, Pakistan, North Korea has hacked into things in this country. If you don't think that Russia or China would go out and, we talk about Trump talks about all the time, fake news. But if you don't think they're going to go out and put, bot people, bot accounts on Facebook or buy ads on Facebook to push ideologies, not even ones that they want, just differing ones to basically split the country in half. And which, I mean, if anyone's doing it, they're succeeding because this country is split right down the middle.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's working, whatever they're doing. But yeah, I mean, there were a couple quotes. There were tweets. I don't know. Did you see any of the tweets
about the
meeting? No, about the Trump meeting. I mean, there were tweets from like John Brennan. He was the former CIA director under Obama, his little lapdog, and James Comey, former FBI director. They both tweeted. Did you see those?
I didn't see the tweet. I know a couple of them got a little out of hand with their this is treason. Or one said this is the worst thing since Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if either of those two said that, but Brennan said basically Donald Trump's press conference in Helsinki rises to and exceeds the thresholds of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. That was just a little bit of the tweet. And then Comey, let's see, he said, "This was the day an American president stood on foreign soil next to a murderous, lying thug and refused to back his own country." That's pretty extreme opinion. That's a pretty extreme opinion for me to watch the press conference and say that's what happened. The reporter asked them specific questions about election, basically them intervening in our election and, and collusion, and they were answering questions. And I don't know. I didn't think that he said anything that was so crazy that was treasonous.
I think the issue was he didn't back the intelligence community at all and sided with Putin, like number one or two enemy to the country.
The first thing he said whenever he got asked the question was, "I have great confidence in our intelligence community." That's the first sentence out of his mouth. Now, what he said that pissed everyone off was that he brought up the Democrats and the DNC and how they are not allowing access to this server. I mean, he didn't really even say anything about the intelligence community. I mean, really, he basically was just bitching about the DNC not cooperating.
Right.
So I think that was taken out of context. But you have a guy like Brennan. I mean, that guy he's such a lackey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So they want to have a second summit. I guess it's in the works. Trump plans to invite Putin to the White House. I don't think that's a good idea. I think.
You don't think?
No, I don't think inviting him to the White House is a good idea. I just don't think he deserves that kind of respect. He is a horrible human being.
Yeah, but I mean, we met with North Korea's dictator who's
but not at the White House. We didn't host him at the White House.
Yeah. Well, let's think about how are we ever going to solve this issue with Russia? How would you do it? Are you going to start communication with them and try to get on their good side so they'll start actually doing some things we say about Syria? Syria is the biggest issue.
Right. I mean, starting communication's fine. Obviously, diplomacy is always the best option, but that's supposed to be more of an honor to invite them into, basically to invite them into your home. I don't think Vladimir Putin deserves that honor. I mean, you could have diplomacy, but still let it be known that he hasn't, earned quite that respect. He doesn't get the Theresa May rollout or, even Angela Merkel.
I mean, he's been to the White House before.
Right. But things have changed.
Yeah.
Things changed, over recent years. So
sure.
Things have off with him.
I just think that what do they always say? You'll attract more flies with honey than you will vinegar.
Yeah.
You're winning him over. I'm not saying you're gonna be his like puppet, but if you're just gonna, I think what the Democrats wanted him to do in that meeting was just completely insult the guy. Say, you're hacking us, you're doing this, you hacked into Hillary, you didn't want Hillary to win. And I mean, what are you gonna insult the fucking guy right there on the?
Well, to be fair, he did walk into NATO and do that.
Yeah, but let's think about how NATO reacts to us. We fit the bill for NATO, and we've always fit the bill. If you want to add up, we spend $664 billion a year on NATO for the last several decades, and they haven't paid. We're 50 years into this, and they still don't pay the amount. So obviously, stroking these Angela Merkels and people like that isn't getting you anywhere. You have to actually.
I agree.
There's but they're our allies, so it's tough love with them. With Putin, it's kid gloves. Try to get him to at least look. The whole Syrian issue has caused such a problem in Europe. Right. It's caused a problem in Jordan. It's caused a problem, and Jordan's one of our allies too. Caused a problem in Turkey, and all of these people are leaving Syria. They're escaping for their lives because their president is massacring them. Who's also, and I will say, a Putin, ally. But if we can't get that guy to calm down, the only way we're going to get any peace in that area is through Putin. I mean, that's true. What are we going to do? We're just going to go in and blow people up. And I mean, a lot of these people probably need to be blown up, but it'll just be an endless cycle. And these people will continue to leave and, cause an immigration issue across all of Europe, and all the Middle East. So, I mean, my opinion is you gotta get along with people enough that at least where you have an actual working relationship. I think we go to NATO, we have a working relationship with them. It's working. We just are trying to get them in order, in line. But with Russia, we don't have a relationship with them, and we're trying to get something out of it. You're not going to get it out of them by insulting each other.
What did you think when Obama went down to Havana and met with the Castros and stuff? Because I thought that was pretty insulting to the country.
Sure. It was.
These two situations are very comparable.
It's very insulting for people, and I'll say the same thing. It's very it is to some degree, especially when you look at people who have left Syria because they're being bombed by Russians in Syria, and they're civilians being gassed by their, it's insulting to those people. Just like the Cubans, like you have a lot of Cubans in Florida who are, they were completely, they were killed and they were imprisoned, for not having the same political feelings as Castro. So, yeah, I can see your point, but let's look at it this way. And I don't want to say Obama did a great thing, but are we having any threat from Cuba at this point? Really? Things have changed so much with Cuba over the last 60 years.
Right.
60 years ago, and same with Russia. Those two are allies. They put, nuclear missiles on Cuba to shoot the United States.
Right.
So, fortunately, things have changed and they're getting better. But I mean, I could see your point. People are persecuted in both those countries, or they're, like in Syria, and they're, being persecuted by them in another country. So I could see where it's insulting. But how are we ever going to solve these problems if we don't have open form of communication with them, I guess, is my point. So,
yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I just, you got to worry about legitimizing monsters is the only thing. And
I agree.
Putin definitely is.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, he's supposedly elected.
Yeah.
He's a supposed elected president of Russia, whether you can say their election.
What did he get, 98% of the vote?
I don't know. Is he one of those ones? He's like Saddam Hussein, 99%.
The other 2% just disappeared.
Yeah.
It's all right, though, because we have hope on the horizon. And I don't know if you've seen the Great Hope. Her name is Alexandria-Cortez Ocasio. She's easy on the eyes. Although I do find the right-wing media very funny in this regard, because she is a very attractive girl. But they keep finding these pictures of like ridiculously goofy smiles where she looks just completely batshit crazy. And B, she does have some fucked up teeth. Her grill is not the best.
I didn't even notice that.
Too bad, but I mean, she's a good looking broad. Dumb as a box of rocks, though. I mean, just
she's the typical girl who knows nothing but wants to tell you everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they'll argue with you about something and have zero fact to back it up. And I'm sure, hopefully you have some proof of this.
Yeah, I got a little bit. Well, it's just she's she's a Bernie Sanders babe. She's a Democratic socialist. She's running in New York, so she's going to get elected. She just knocked off an incumbent, the guy that was supposed to replace Nancy Pelosi eventually.
Yeah, Joe Crowley. He was a big player for the Democratic Party.
Absolutely. And so, I mean, it's not like she's going to lose to the Republican in the general, because that's not going to happen in New York. But in case you had any idea, or, didn't think she was as much of a socialist as she is, here's her in her own words.
And when we talk about things like democratic socialism, when I knock on a door, I don't try to sell people on an ism, an ideology, or even a party. I would knock on people's door and I would tell them the story and I have a conversation. And then at the end, they'd be like, "You're a Democrat, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. For me, it's just one of these things where I come in at it from a very pragmatic lens. I didn't read a book one day and I was like, "Oh, I guess I'm a socialist." It was like, okay, well, I believe in healthcare for all. I believe in education for all. I believe in housing as a human right. And then if people are going to call me a socialist for believing in those things, like, all right, call me a socialist. Like, I don't give a damn.
Now, what I find funny is the fact that she admits in this little clip that, like, she lies to people. Like, "Oh, but you're a Democrat." "No, yeah. She even says it with that inflection. Like, "Oh, yeah, of course." But then so she goes on, and everything she talks about sounds fantastic and whatever, until you start crunching numbers, like healthcare for all, education for all. Does anybody ever ask these people, how are you going to pay for it?
The 1%, Nick, obviously.
But like, the thing is, if you tax them 100% of their income, it doesn't even cover the education for all for a year.
I know. Believe me, Nick, I know. This is why I'm saying she's probably in a bar somewhere. Some guy's trying to get in her pants. She's spouting off all this bullshit. And this guy is shaking his head like, "Man, I can't wait to have sex with her." And he's just shaking his head, yeah. And nothing that she says is backed up by any facts. Now, this is super womanizing of me. But I think if you're coming to an argument and you have zero facts to back up these plans, that's what always kill me about Bernie Sanders. And she's the same thing with this education or everything's free lifestyle. Somebody has to pay for it. When I was a kid, my dad told me nothing in life's free. And the free things cost you the most. And that is absolutely true. You got to
Yeah.
work in this world, and that's the only way you're going to get anything. If you want people to hand you everything, and you want to be part of, the welfare state of the United States, well, the United States will end up broke because we can't afford it. So
we're already in massive debt.
Yeah.
And it's going to start skyrocketing in like 2022 when Social Security runs out.
Yeah. Well, did you see, speaking of her still, did you see her? I don't know if I sent you this video. I probably should have. The woman asked her, like, they're talking about Israel and Palestine relations. Did you see that?
Yeah, you did send me that.
It's funny because I wish I had the quote exactly, because but basically the woman, she brings up the fact, something about an occupation of Palestine and people, and the woman's like, could you, and the interviewer's face was like baffled, like she didn't know what the hell she was babbling about.
Yeah.
And she's like, could you, and this is kind of funny with these people because they'll say statements, and if they don't have any facts, they just keep going to their next statement. Whereas she, like, I said, hey, could you like kind of, talk about that a little bit more? I'm not sure if I'm following what you're saying, type of thing. And her face was like she didn't know what the hell to say.
Yeah.
And basically she gets down to the end, she's babbling, and she's not really making any sense. And she's like, yeah, but I'm just not an expert on foreign policy and these types of things. But I'm thinking, you just threw out this statement about an occupation of Palestine or whatever she's talking about.
Yeah, you just called a country that isn't a country.
Yeah, but
and then B, you called our closest ally in the region occupiers and practically terrorists.
And quite frankly, I don't even think she even knew to say that. I think she was just like saying like hot button words. Like,
oh yeah,
she was just saying things, and she didn't know what they meant. It was so obvious, but she's got to be she's going to be. I mean, I don't know how she could be beaten. She won't be beaten.
She's not going to be beaten. That's not
in New York City by a Republican.
She will be running for president by 2024.
Yeah,
I guarantee that.
Well,
they weren't joking when they said she's the future of the Democrat Party.
She's
that
20.
Looking to.
I think she's 28 or 29. She'll be the youngest, I think, woman, maybe youngest person ever to get on, to be elected. But you can't be president until you're 35. So do the math. So you have, but
that'd be enough time.
She might be able to get there for the 24.
Yeah, 24. Yeah, she'd be able to get there by 24. She'll run. She's running.
But I mean, I'll keep going back to it, Nick. People in huge cities live too close together, and they're all fucking insane.
Yeah.
And that's why they vote for these idiots.
Well, another one of her policy ideas, and Obama was just talking about this the other day too, is the universal income. This thing's starting to pick up steam.
Yeah.
I initially heard about this, I'd say probably a year and a half ago. Do you know what a universal income is?
Yeah.
Basically, everybody in the country will get a check from the government every month for like $1,000. So basically, your universal income will be $12,000 a year. And then you go out and have a job, or you just live off the $12,000 a year.
Yeah, and I've heard where they've done pilot programs of this in Canada, I think.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone got it, but certain people got it. And they like asked the people, like, so what do you do now? Like, with that, you're like getting income from the government. And this one guy was like, well, now I can just like hang out, be artistic, and do my own thing. I'm thinking, yeah, well, that's great, but who the fuck is paying for this?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm losing my mind. I'm like in crazy world, Nick.
Well, the thing is, this idea came from Silicon Valley. It was like, what are we going to do when the robots take over, basically? How are people going to afford to live? So,
well, there's
25 years, this might be something we have to look into, like, legitimately. Because they're saying in 10 years from now, 50% of the jobs that are done today will not exist 10 years from now. So there is going to be an issue down the line of,
if you believe that number.
I think
I'm just
it's pretty
saying.
accurate. I mean, I think that's very accurate. The way technology is growing, and that's like we keep talking about bringing all these jobs back to America. They ain't gonna fucking last. If you're in manufacturing or shipping or anything of that nature, do yourself a favor, look into other trades.
But they're not going to be there either, apparently. But you know what a lot of this stems from? It stems from these liberals in Silicon Valley, like Zuckerberg and all these guys who have this rich people guilt. And they feel like they feel guilty about being so rich. I mean, not like to the extent where they're going to give it all away and like help people, but to the extent where they see an image issue there. So they say, yeah, I'm all for universal health care. Yeah, well, everyone's going to be $12,000 heirs and you're going to be a fucking trillionaire. Right. How fair is that? I mean, that's ridiculous. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's the answer. Like, I think the universal income is idiotic. But if you get to the point where, you know, you're looking at 50% of the jobs that need to be done are done by robots, yeah, you're going to have to start looking into other avenues. Not saying that's the one you look into, but there are going to be things you have to look into for people to survive.
If that's the case, and you're talking about an astronomical amount of jobs that are going to be done by machines, essentially.
Yeah.
Which jobs now are being done by machines, but you would have to make enough money to not only make the product economically viable to sell to people who don't have jobs anymore.
Yeah.
But you also have to make enough money to pay enough taxes to pay everyone in the country to live. So, I mean, you have to have the economic windfall would have to be astronomical for that to actually work.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it would work. I don't think a universal income would work, but
Zuckerberg says it's gonna happen. But how? Okay, this will lead me to the next story. If no one's paying taxes and robots are doing all of our jobs and we're only making $12,000 a year that the government's giving to us, how in the fuck are we gonna pay for the wall? And we just got some funding for the wall. I don't know if you saw this. There was the Homeland Security basically a spending bill, $5 billion. And I know people are saying $5 billion for the wall, but it's actually $1.6 billion for the actual building of the wall for 2019. And but it still has to go through. It went through Congress. It's got to go through the Senate, which should be interesting since that's like a split, almost 50-50 vote.
Right.
So,
yeah, and it's funny because you could basically count on party lines anymore, except for like maybe one or two senators. People cross every once in a while, but now it's like right there.
Do you know how easy your job is as a senator?
Oh yeah.
All you do is go in. Okay, I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, and you just say, okay, a Republican brought this forward. Boom, approved. If I'm a Republican, a Democrat is there and a Republican brought something forward, boom, no. I don't even have to read this shit. It could be the best possible thing for our country, but they're going to reject it. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's like straight ticket voting. You just go in and just mark R or D.
Yeah. I mean, that's the most mindless thing. I think that should be illegal.
I agree.
I think straight ticket voting should be illegal. And part of me thinks that their party next to the candidate shouldn't be there.
I agree. I'll agree with that too.
So people actually have to go out and figure out who the F these people are, because you're voting for a bunch of people and you can't even, all you saw was their sign that said their party.
Yeah.
So basically it's like you're playing for blue or you're playing for red, no matter what they're pushing. And I don't think that's how this, if we were a true democracy with people who like had thought, who like were thoughtful, which we're not, because we're all a bunch of idiots. We're obsessed with the Kardashians. But yeah, Candy Crush, is that what you said?
Yeah. We're a couple years behind.
Yeah, I was going to say. But basically, then people would have to do some research and figure out, okay, this is so-and-so, and this is why I'm supporting him. And
Right.
yeah, maybe he is a Republican, but if I push straight Republican or push straight Democrat, I mean, you're an idiot.
Well, Illinois is a good example of that. I think they have a guy who's either running for Congress or Senate. I'm not sure if it's state or actual, national election, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, like state congressman
Yeah.
or
Or U.S.
Yeah.
But he is a admitted Nazi running as a Republican. So if you go into the voting booth and vote straight Republican ticket in Illinois,
you're voting for a Nazi.
Voting for a Nazi.
Yeah.
And like the only reason why he was able to get on the ballot is because it's a very Democrat district.
And they love it.
He ran unopposed.
Well, you know what's ridiculous about that? How is the Republican Party in that state allowing him to be part of their party?
I mean,
The guy is
can't keep people out of a political party.
Should be in the Nazi party.
Yeah. No shit.
Not the Republican, not the Democrat, but the Nazi party. Adolf's party.
It's insane.
I would love to see his TV commercial.
That would be a good thing to look up.
That would be better than the dumpster fire guy and the gay guy.
I don't know about that.
Dude,
dumpster fire was Washington dumpster fire.
If someone said that guy was a Nazi, I would have believed it.
Yeah.
A lot of fire and fury in that one.
He seriously, like I said, he looks like a Batman villain. He really, I mean, okay, maybe Two-Face kind of came into my mind looking at him and seeing the old droopy side.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why, but whatever. So the Miami Dolphins have released their new team policy regarding the players kneeling.
Oh, they did.
And boy, are they ready for a shitstorm. They got it coming bad.
So the players are allowed to kneel now?
No, not if you're a Dolphin.
Ooh.
Under a new team policy, players could be suspended for up to 4 games for kneeling and fined. Leftist heads are fucking exploding. Because, telling someone to stand up for the national anthem, no, telling someone to represent the company that they work for in a good light is akin to slavery. It's the same thing.
Yeah, this issue drives me nuts. It always has. But I will say this. They're not looking out for their Republicans forcing Democrats to stand. Or it's not that. It's about dollars and cents. It's about money. Because the NFL took such a huge hit over the last couple of years of this whole kneeling thing. It is costing them tons of money. So these teams are trying to look out for their best interest. Right. I mean, when it's August and this football season starts in Miami, how many people are going to that stadium? It's hot.
Nobody.
Yeah, and they're trying to salvage all the tickets they can sell, basically.
Right. I mean, yeah. Take the whole patriotism out of it. Don't even think of the flag or the national anthem. Say it's wearing the color blue. If these players decide they want to express themselves by wearing the color blue, and that drops TV ratings and revenue and ticket sales by 20%, I believe it was.
It may have been more.
Some owners are going to outlaw the color blue. You're not going to be allowed to wear blue to work. You're not going to be allowed to kneel for the flag at work. They don't give a shit what your opinion is. You could be, I was going to say a Nazi, but I guess in the last story, but you could be whatever you want to be on your free time. But when you're there and you punch the clock and you go to work, you have to represent your company.
You have to follow the rules. Well, actually, there are rules. I mean, you say wear blue, but these guys, I've said this before, they come out of the locker room. They get inspected by an NFL official who looks at them, makes sure they're wearing the right shoes because of shoe contract deals. They're wearing their socks pulled up correctly. They're wearing the right everything. They're not wearing something they're not supposed to. And if they do, they get sent back in the locker room. If they still wear it, they get fined. So they're controlling them. They've always micromanaged these players on the field. And then all of a sudden, it got totally out of control.
Yeah.
Kneeling.
I remember Ben Roethlisberger got fined and was forbidden to draw a cross on his cleats that he always drew on his cleats in honor of his mother, who died of breast cancer. Yeah.
Well, you see what they're doing now. They actually have, like, they're licensed designer shoes that are individually made for each player. Have you seen that?
Right. Yeah.
So they have all these different things. Instead of them writing all over their shoes or doing this and that, they actually, well, it's the NFL making money off of it because they don't want the shoe company to say, you know, I paid Nike, I paid $400 million to sponsor XO whatever teams 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the guy covers up my thing with some graffiti. You know, now
Right.
Nike's making the shoes for him, and they're saying, you know, you can wear it and it looks cool. It's exactly what you want, but it still has our big fat swoosh on it, and we're still getting even more, you know, press.
Yeah, because now this is one of the things I hate about the NFL. There's a lot of them anymore, but this is one of the things I absolutely hated about the NFL is the fact that every fucking week before the week starts, it's, whoa, these cleats are fire. Like, that's half the story in the NFL. Oh, look at these fucking cleats. Like, they should get Andrew Dice Clay to to do commentary on the cleats. Hey, look at these fucking cleats right here. That's some fancy fucking shoes you got.
Oh, you know, it is. I mean, now it's just them turning it into an extra 15-minute segment about the guy's shoes, but it's actually just a 15-minute long shoe commercial. So it's just the ESPN's probably making money on it too, I'm sure. I mean, why else would they do anything?
It's just aggravating that a bunch of guys that are supposed to be like men are having like a fucking shoe show off. Are you serious?
Look at the press conferences, Nick. These guys dress up like clowns. Look at Cam Newton. He goes to the press conference with flood pants on, and fancy socks and goofy hats, and I mean, it's ridiculous. But that's what they like to do. They're rich 20-year-olds, you know. Yeah. But back to my point. There's rules. These guys have to follow the rules. And the whole kneeling thing was something, it was like a loophole they somehow figured out where they would kneel. And, you know, it wasn't a strict rule that said you have to kneel or you'll be fined or you have to do this. It said something about it. Actually, there actually is a rule where you put your helmet under one, you know, your left arm and put your hand over your heart. But it was like the NFL never really enforced it.
Right.
So guys would stand on the sidelines, you know, they didn't stand in the line. They were just kind of standing there, and but they were standing. So no one made a big deal of it. But then as soon as someone started kneeling, then they're like, oh shit, we didn't really enforce this though as strict as we enforced the clothing stuff. So now we're kind of backpedaling out of this. But the Dolphins are going to suspend guys 4 games, and that's a pretty big thing for a team to do against their own player.
Right.
Now, do you think anyone will kneel?
I got to be honest. I think they are. I think it's going to be kind of a shitstorm type of year.
Whew, I think that's a bad decision if they do. I mean, they're probably a borderline, but they could potentially be a playoff team. It would be borderline, but they could put some things together and be there. And if you start getting guys suspended 4 games, you're even a game. Every game is going to matter for them because they're not going to have 13 wins. They're going to have, if they have a good season, they're going to have anywhere from a 7-9 to like maybe a 9-7 on the edge of making the playoff type of team, you know? So, I mean, if you start getting guys start trying to make statements, then they're not really looking out for their team. They're just trying to make a statement, which hurts the productivity and for the team and the franchise and your employer. So,
well, if one thing we've learned about NFL players this week, it's that they don't really give a shit about their employer or the team. All they care about is themselves and getting that money.
Getting them dollars, boy.
Can you believe Le'Veon Bell? I mean, real quick on this, but can you believe Le'Veon Bell turned down $15 million a year over 5 years with the Steelers? And what the hell were they thinking? Offering $15 million a year to a running back who's getting very close to 30.
Okay, here's some stats for you. Just so you realize how crazy it is what they're offering already. Last year, they offered him a 5-year deal or $12 million a year, $60 million. Okay. This year they offered him a 5-year deal, $70 million, $33 million guaranteed. He's a great player. He's awesome, but he's already has his suspensions for drugs. One more, he's gone for a year.
Well, he'd be gone for 4 games because that first suspension.
Did they knock it back?
Well, it was player misconduct. It wasn't a drug suspension. Because it was
so anyway, 4 games.
Yeah.
So 4 games. But he also has had both his knees redone. So yeah, he plays great, but you know, how long are those going to last? He had tons of carries at Michigan State. But let's look at the numbers here. We offered him, it was more than $12 million a year last year. We're offering a 5-year, $70 million deal this year. Le'Veon Bell in 2017 made $12.12 million, okay? Which the second running back in the entire NFL only made $6.25 million. So he's double that guy. And that's the second guy. This year, he's franchise tagged again. He's going to make $14.5 million. The closest guy to him is Devontae Freeman, who got what they considered like a monster deal. He's going to make $8.2 million. So he's still making, this year, he's making $6 million more than the closest. He's making almost double the number 2 guy. And then you got a guy, you know, Devontae Freeman's decent, whatever, but LaShawn McCoy, he's 3rd place in both years. He's supposed to be 3rd place this year, money-wise. That guy's probably not going to play because he's been using his girlfriend and her dog as punching bags, apparently. So I think it's absurd. Like, I love Le'Veon Bell. I think he's a great player. He's dynamic, but he has a great offensive line. He's going to go to some team that's going to pay him. I find it hard to believe they're going to pay him more than what the Steelers are offering, 5 years, $70 million. And he's already, 28?
I think he's 27.
27. So, I mean, he's getting up there. The life of running back, I think, is average 2 years in the league.
Right.
Now, he's obviously an exception.
And once you hit 30, I mean, it's like running into a brick wall.
Yeah. So you're looking at a guy who he's going to be franchise tagged this year, 14.5. I predict he'll fake a hammy for half the season, and he'll try to rest his way into free agency, which sucks.
That's what you think. That could happen because, like, a lot of people are thinking he's going to skip half the year, but that would actually be the smart business move there. That way you're collecting all that money.
The smart business move would be to sign a 5-year, $70 million deal at the age of 27.
Yeah, that would probably be the better idea.
Yeah, but he's gonna do this. He's gonna stay. He's gonna leave. He's not gonna have the offensive line. Wherever he's gonna go is gonna be a trash team. They'll give him record-breaking running back numbers. There'll be a trash offensive line, and and he won't do shit. He'll have a bad quarterback, no receivers, and a terrible offensive line, and he won't have another 1,000-yard season. Mark my words.
No, he'll be done.
And I don't want to be critical of him because I love the guy, but I think he's being greedy.
No, yeah, he is. I mean, he has the right to be greedy, but we also have a right to call him an asshole. Mm-hmm. Another asshole out there, Kellen Winslow.
Pretty big asshole.
This was an amazing story. He's been trying to make an NFL comeback. It hasn't been going so well. He recently got caught fleeing a trailer park after raping some 80-year-old broad.
I don't think
that's the story I heard, that he was like banging out the 80-year-olds.
Okay, I should have looked into this more. I kind of
let me try to find that. Okay.
Yeah, like he picked someone up like a hitchhiker almost. And she wasn't 80.
There was an 80-year-old hitchhiker?
I don't think she was 80. But she basically is accusing him. Did you hear all this story? Because this is fucking hilarious. So basically, he's charged with burglary. Where's my list? Burglary, kidnapping, and rape. So he's in court right now. So the woman's on the stand. This is a video of this. Now, it doesn't show her face. I think it shows her from like the chin down because they're protecting her. She's sexual, So they said, okay, could you identify the man who?
Whoops! Hold on 1 second. got an ad playing there.
Yeah, she said, could you identify the man who did this to you, who raped you, kidnapped you? Did you hear this?
No, I did.
Oh my God, this is the best part of the story. So she points out a guy,
Yeah,
and says that was the guy who did it. It wasn't even Kellen Winslow. It was his fucking lawyer that she pointed out.
oh, that's hilarious.
That's the best part of the story. I didn't even know about her being 80 or whatever, but like basically he wore glasses to the trial. I think he like didn't have a beard. Like normally it looks like he has like one of those 5 o'clock shadow type beards. So he didn't have a beard, wore glasses. There was well, his two lawyers were sitting next to him, and she pointed out the wrong guy. I mean, that's not going to go well in court, I don't think.
Was it the 86-year-old or the 54-year-old?
I was going to say, there are two victims of this, though.
Yeah.
There are two people who are accusing him of this.
From People magazine, former NFL star Kellen Winslow Jr. has been charged with kidnapping and raping 2 older women and targeting others, including, he targeted an 86-year-old. What the fuck? She fought him off?
I don't believe that.
She's 80. She must be Ruth Bader Ginsburg with that workout routine if she's fighting off an NFL star.
Me and you, if he tried raping us, we couldn't fight him off.
No, he would have his way with us. It would be shameful. He also burglarized a 71-year-old woman in June and burglarized with intent to rape the 86-year-old woman the same month. Okay.
But I'm not sticking up for him because I'm not sticking up for Putin either. Both these guys are monsters. Maybe he's some sort of weird like path, like he's the start of like some weird sexual predator serial killer type who's really like into older women.
The opposite of a pedophile.
Yeah, it's happened before though. He's
a graveophile.
Yeah, it's this
likes him close to the grave.
But the woman couldn't pick him out. That's what I thought was hilarious about the story. I didn't really dig into it too much, but
because she has amnesia or freaking Alzheimer's.
No, that woman wasn't 80. That woman was like younger. She was probably the one who was 50 something. You could see her hair was dark. It was longer hair. Like you could see she wasn't that old. She wasn't 80 years old.
The first victim, 54-year-old woman who had been hitchhiking when she accepted a ride from Winslow Jr. So that's the woman you're talking about. There was another 59-year-old woman who alleged after getting in the car with him, wow, he's just driving around picking up broads and raping them. That's what it sounds like.
I'm telling you, this is how these serial killers kind of get started. Like, look at a guy like the Green River Killer. Like, he would pick up these prostitutes. He would have really rough sex with them, or they have really rough sex. Then he starts strangling them. Before you know it, he's killing 90 people.
Yeah.
Kellen Winslow could be like a serial killer.
Once they accidentally kill someone, it's like it's on like Donkey Kong then.
Oh yeah, because
they realize that's what they want.
And well, they like everything they do, it just gets more and more escalated, and they need it to be escalated more the next time they do it. And then the next thing you know, they're like, taking their heads home for oral copulation, not attached to their bodies.
Right. So Elon Musk, not too happy with the hero diver that we talked about last week that found those little Thai boys. He called him a pedo, as in a pedophile.
Yeah.
Apparently because the diver insulted Elon Musk's dildo submarine.
Yeah.
That he was going to send in after the boys.
Elon's salty. He was Trump salty about not being the one to save those kids. And then when the guy made a comment about it, I think he said, like, I'll bet you like $1, autographed $1 that guy's a pedo.
Yeah.
I think he put it on Twitter too, which, man, that guy's an idiot. Why would he do that?
Because he's Elon Musk. He has the definition of fuck you money. That dude is boring a hole under the city of Los Angeles right now at like $2 billion a month and doesn't even know if the whole thing is going to work out.
I know. Believe me, if Elon Musk is in the business plan that you're pitching to a company, you're getting the money. You're getting the money.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, he could like sell his turds to people and people would be buying them.
Right. Because they could probably find something in there that has like a bit of intelligence or something.
But I would watch if I was this guy. Because Elon, he's got his little spies out there trying to prove this guy's a pedo because he wants to clear his name. So yeah.
Yes, stay off that. Stay off the internet porn. You know, you don't know when the sometimes you don't know all the ages.
Yeah, well, Thailand is like kind of known for like, or at least they've always made comments about like things like that happening. You know, that was what they always said. You know, there was child sex slavery going on there and this and that. But yeah, Elon Musk is a celebrity who's also a businessman, and he's kind of like Trump. Sometimes he should bite his tongue a little bit about what he puts on Twitter.
Well, he's not just a businessman; he's a business man.
He's all about that business. He's a lot like Howard Hughes, like dating celebrity women, and he's innovative and he's coming up with all these crazy things. He's a little wacky with some of the shit he says and does, but
before long, he'll be peeing in a jar in his room.
Yep, he won't leave his movie theater in his house. Like huge, long, hairy nails. But on to other celebrities.
Yeah, Kylie Jenner, she's on the come up.
Yeah, she's killing it, yo. She's worth $900 million.
Like, I didn't even remember her sex tape coming out. It obviously did very well.
Yeah, her sisters did so well that she is a billionaire. Well, basically what got this in the news story, I think she was on the cover of Forbes magazine. Yeah. As like one of the youngest, richest people in the world. And her fans are so crazy. Like, they started a GoFundMe page because she's worth 900. Well, see, she's net worth, so whatever. It's probably, she doesn't have $1 billion, but you know, she has a makeup line and clothing and all this shit. So she's worth $900 million, and her fans started a GoFundMe page. Maybe she started it like through like some anonymous name, you know, like Kylie fan #1. She starts a GoFundMe page for them to get her to $1 billion. So basically, the fans are going to try to get together and get her that last 100 million.
You know, people that donate to that, I think, should be the people that get taxed 50% of their income. I'm actually for taxes for those people.
I'll tell you who those people are. Those people are 13-year-old kids who their parents allow them to run rampant with their credit cards.
Well, you know what? Tax the parents, too.
Yeah.
That's how we'll pay for the education that Alexandria wants everyone to have.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, hey, it's impressive. If you have businesses, you make $1 billion. That's impressive. I mean, I don't know anything about it. That's what I said to my sister. I said, how in the hell did she make? I've never
day in her life.
Well, I mean, she's never like, okay, she's a celebrity, but she's never acted. She's never really sang that I know of. That I don't know. No. She's never done anything. She was on that show, and I've seen episodes of that show, not a lot, but I don't ever remember hearing her talk. But apparently, according to my sister, she has clothing and makeup lines, and she is hot. I mean,
she's very hot.
These kids are all over her.
She has a horrible Pepsi ad too. I don't know if you saw that, but
that was Kendall. That was her sister, Kendall. Yeah, she's probably like, she's the one who, but she's actually done work that I've seen, you know, like she was modeling. She's like 8 feet tall. I don't know who her dad is, but like no one in that family is that tall. Like they said, Chloe is OJ's daughter. Did you ever hear that? I mean, this is back to our conspiracy theories, but
I think she is.
I mean, she's built like OJ.
Yeah, she definitely is. And I could see it. I definitely could. You could see the resemblance.
You think?
Oh, yeah. So any good watch this week? You see anything good?
I saw nothing. I did see something for everyone else to watch coming up, and I think everyone will be excited about it. But John Delaney, he's a Democrat from Maryland, has announced that he's running for president. So he's the first Democratic candidate to do so. So we have election coverage starting now, guys. We have like
awesome.
2+ years of election coverage. I can't wait.
Right.
I don't think it ever ended.
I don't either.
It's making me nauseous. No, but they're talking about it a lot.
How long before you think she announces? Do you think she's going to be one of the early ones or one of the late ones?
I think she'll be a little bit later to the party. Like, I'm not saying she's going
like, well, I'm going to step in and save this because you know she needs to get a rest.
she's not going to be. She's not really doing any resting. She's out doing speeches and she's putting her feelers out there right now. You can see it. She's doing speeches. She's got her feelers out, and I don't think she'll be like, this guy John Delaney announcing and doing a campaign already. But she doesn't have to do the extra legwork. She already has the name recognition,
right?
So she could jump in like 18 months before the election, 16 months, somewhere in there. Give her 3, 4, 5 months before primary, stuff like that to kind of get things going. And I think that's when she'll do it. She's not going to announce like as early as this guy. This guy's he's taking advantage of, I'm the first one, so now I'm going to get my name in the mix.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've heard of the guy before. I don't really know much about him. He was on Fox News, I saw today. But I don't know. I mean, it makes to me like the last election, like when it started and all the coverage that it had.
It went on forever.
Dude, it felt like that's what they should play people if they want to torture them. Like, like they used to play like Britney Spears or whatever these, like the ISIS.
Just play all the debates back to back. So I did watch a good movie on Netflix. It was starring Paul Rudd. It was called The Ability of Caring or something like that. Something in that vein, but it's Paul Rudd.
I'm kidding.
Paul Rudd's a good actor. And it's him taking care of a kid in a wheelchair.
Oh God, now I'm an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. And he was gonna be dead within a couple years, and it's based on a true story.
Huh, that's pretty cool. I have never heard of that before. Was it a Netflix movie?
Yes, it was a Netflix movie. Very good. Selena Gomez is in it. She's hot, but she has a goofy face.
Yeah, she has like a short head. Like her chin is like short. Like it doesn't really come down. It's like her whole face is it's odd. But I don't know. I saw something about. I mean, Netflix is spending like so much money.
Right. You know those memberships are gonna be going up in cost here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'm sure it will.
But you know it doesn't. It doesn't cost anything though. Subscribing to Kelly Digital on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play.
Yep.
So make sure you do that. You'll get this show, and you'll also get Master Debate with Quaid. We've covered some good issues so far with most quotable movies, Where to Hide a Body. Adam killed it on that one. And what was the other one? Oh,
top
most famous
quotable.
Yeah, top deaths of the last 100 years. Very good. I think they've been pretty funny so far. Pretty entertaining to listen to. So check that out. Nothing political about it. No news or anything like that. It's just all joking and bullshitting around.
I think this show's pretty funny too, though.
It has its moments.
Plug Life moments last week were really funny.
Yeah, those made me laugh hysterically. But all right, let's go on and get out of here.
Sounds good.